Welcome back to the Student Athlete Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Lemke. Today, we're joined by Carter Macanas, an Arizona State baseball commit who committed as a freshman. So he has played in many national teams and in many tournaments, including Jupiter just a couple weeks ago, where he was named Jupiter PG All-Tournament Hitter. Now, as a junior, Carter continues to work hard and constantly pushing to elevate his game. I've had the privilege of working with him as well on his nutrition. And so today we're going to talk about mindset, commitment, and daily habits that help him continue to grow and expand as an elite athlete. So Carter, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on here. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. So tell me, so again, you committed to Arizona State as a freshman, which is a big accomplishment, especially before all the changes that happened right afterwards. So what made you commit so early?
Honestly, Arizona State was a huge school on my list. I mean, I moved here from Hawaii right after COVID. I came up here for baseball school. I met some awesome people, some awesome coaches. And a part of that moving was Arizona State came to a lot of my games. They came to watch me. And I met their infield coach at a couple of the games when they were scouting me. And I just thought he was an awesome guy. I thought Willie was awesome. And, they took me, showed me around campus, told me a lot of the stuff that they work on, a lot of the stuff that they look for. And I just thought it was a perfect fit. It's 20 minutes away, right in my backyard. And I think Willie and the whole coaching staff at ASU is just awesome.
No, I think that would be pretty cool. Being a Mariners fan myself, Willie Bloomquist was a Mariner for a while. So I'm like, rooting for that for sure.
Exactly.
So, it's easy after a commitment to lose that motivation. So how have you stayed motivated and continue to grind as hard as ever as a sophomore and now as a junior?
Yeah, no, it plays a big factor. I mean, I remember my freshman year, kind of like all the hype and, committing, and it was like towards the end of the season, playoffs are coming around. And it was just like, I forgot how hard it was to get there. I mean, all those years in middle school, freshman year, putting in like all that work to get there. And it was just, I still have like 4 more years to go. So it was kind of like, at first it was kind of steady, right after I committed. And I think it was like right after that summer, it was just a long, heavy summer. And I started to kind of relax a little bit in the fall. And I think that just kind of, it didn't really feel good. I didn't feel, prepared for games in the fall. I wasn't, like mentally aware like I was in the spring. And so that just kind of, made me stop and realize like, I can't just let off the gas. Like now is the time when I have to put my foot on the gas and keep going. And so ever since that fall at my beginning of my sophomore year, I just, in trying to get better every single day. You can't stop, especially now. I mean, this is where like the big separator is, with baseball is when kids start to veer off and, find other things to do. And just, kids that want to go far are just going to keep pushing themselves. So I'd say that's probably the biggest factor is if you let off the gas, you're not going to be prepared.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because now we're seeing so many decommits.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where they're kind of realizing, oh, I didn't put in enough work and I'm not going to be starting for a couple years or whatever it might be their reasoning. But that's where, I mean, you grinding and you showing up at all these tournaments, all these games, I think is really helping you stay consistent in that.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's always something to work on. I mean, there's a lot of kids in my class that I've talked to, and that's the other thing I like about ASU is we have a lot of in-state kids right now. So I'm able to see them, every week. We try to go to camps as much as we can, and each kid always has something to work on. We're all different. I think that's what a lot of kids don't realize is there's like always something that you can work on to make yourself a better player.
Yeah. Speaking of always working on something, I know, we work together a bit on your nutrition, but I know that you had already put in a bit of work prior and you were trying to figure things out on your own and doing some things on your own. And then you started working with me. Like, what were some of the biggest changes you saw after investing more in your nutrition, working with me compared to when you were doing it on your own?
Yeah. So like on my own, I mean, It was just a little 50-50. That was the problem. Like I knew what I needed to do. I just didn't know how to do it. I know that I had to eat healthy, but I didn't know when to eat, what to eat. I had a weight goal and I just didn't know how to reach that goal. And so ever since we started working together, I've been able to, slowly increase mass healthily. I've been able to keep, my speed up. I've actually gotten a lot faster while getting stronger, which is like what our goal was when we first started. So it's really helped a lot, especially with the program that you have me on. It's giving me new ideas each week. You're not eating the same food every single week like I was before. You're able to kind of mix it up, and I think that's really awesome.
So what were some of the biggest things that were like kind of like light bulbs for you that you didn't know before just about nutrition? Because you knew like healthy, but like what were
Yeah.
some the biggest light
Um,
bulbs?
I think so. The biggest one there was probably breakfast. Breakfast was huge. I mean, I like as a kid, you kind of rush through the morning, like don't really focus on your nutrition. You kind of just eat whatever you see. And so that got me a little bit more disciplined in what I ate in the morning so I could feel good for the rest of the day. So now I eat every morning, and I feel great, energetic for the rest of the day. Two was also a pregame, a pre-workout, and like post-game, post workout foods. That's helped me a lot. I've had more energy through the game, and I've had better recovery after games and workouts because I was able to learn, when to eat and what to eat. And then the other thing that helped a lot was hydration. That's been a key. Especially in the long summers, kids, get dehydrated quick and their body starts to cramp up and then they're out. But Nick's helped me with, keeping the hydration up and my body's just felt good all summer. I was able to keep playing nonstop and I'm still playing and my body feels great.
So one thing I talked to a lot of the college coaches and scouts on the podcast is what you bring to showcases, what you bring to tournaments, a lot of that pregame stuff like you talk about. How would you say your pregame differs from a lot of the athletes that you play with? Because I know that was a thing we
Yeah. So I'd say it's very different. I was able to build a routine for myself, from the night before. You know what time you play, so you got to plan it all out. I know we've talked about this in season, what to eat in the morning when you have that early morning game, that late game. So I'm really big on, preparation because it's a lot of kids have really good talent and they don't need any preparation. They just go in and start playing. But I've been able to be prepared for the game by, what I do before the game. I do a lot of like meditation, a lot of self-talk, a lot of positive affirmations, a lot of stuff like that to keep myself up and kind of like some meditation just to, stay off the phone, eat some good food. And that's just helped prepare me for each game. And it's been awesome.
No, that's a big deal. And the mindset and the nutrition. I like that you touch on the mindset too, because that's where a lot of hitters, a lot of pitchers get in their head a little too much,
Right.
So that's good. But the other thing I wanted to say though was while your team, we won't specify like when and context, but you were working with a team who was going out for fast food and you were bringing your own sandwiches, you were doing your
Yeah.
own thing. So like that's what I want
Yeah.
to highlight.
Yeah, no, and it was so nice with, the team I played with this summer. I was fortunate to play with a team that paid for, everything. And that was kind of the big, I want to say like separator was when you're able to get whatever you want, like, are you going to get like some healthy food or are you just going to go get like McDonald's? Um, so that, keeping that in mind, I mean, every once in a while, it's fun to kind of eat out and enjoy some food that you don't normally eat. But I was able to, maintain that healthy diet that we've talked about, and that was kept me in shape all summer. So I thought it was pretty funny and pretty cool.
Yeah. What were some things eating out wise that like you were able to do pretty consistently?
Yeah, so mainly, when we'd go out to dinner, I could find something on the menu that we've talked about. You get your meats, greens, proteins, all that stuff. Or even on what we got to do was we got to go to Walmart. So we get like we get money cap and we go to Walmart And so that's where I'd get some of those, stuff for the fridge. You can throw in the fridge, you can throw in your turkey, your bread, yogurt, you can throw in fruit, all that stuff. So I was pretty much good all summer. I mean, our fridge was stacked. My roommate and I had, all the healthy foods in our room, and everybody else had all their own stuff in their room. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So I know, like, like you mentioned, part of your goal is to get stronger while also maintaining slash gaining speed. So, a lot of athletes are out there and they're just like, well, I'm just going to eat more, or I'm just going to eat more protein. But like, was it that simple for you, or did you find that there was more to it?
No, there was definitely more to it. I mean, because before I was eating a lot of protein, but I wasn't getting those nutrients that I needed to, in my body. I mean, there was even small stuff we talked about. I think it was tartar juice, like tart
For cherry
juice.
juice?
Yeah, like just
Yeah,
small stuff like that. Like I've never heard of that, and once I started drinking it, like my body just felt amazing, and so it was just small stuff like that I never knew, and my body just has felt great. I mean, yeah,
it's good. What about like even like during games? Because I know, there's a variety of things that people might be doing during the game, like candy or whatever. But what were
yeah.
some of the things that really worked for you?
Yeah, so a lot of kids, it was like, gummy bears, I don't even know, chips, like, I don't even know what they had, but I did a lot of oranges, because I never got too hungry during games, but I took one of those fruit packs with me, those fruit strips from Costco. My mom threw that in my bag, so I had that for like a good month, and I was just light, like even in between games or after games or before games, like peanut butter PB&J sandwiches with oranges, and that was just like the perfect combination. My stomach didn't, get upset, and I just had a little bit of energy boost. Before it was probably like a banana, which would, not the right time, was during a game, not really,
Yeah.
um, I would wait till, after the game or a little bit, couple, maybe an hour before the game or something like that, just when to eat it.
Yeah. One I think it's important to note with you is that, a lot of my athletes are very different. Like I've had Drew on the podcast where he can eat pretty much whatever he wants and it doesn't like affect him as much in terms of like right before a game. But I know for you, like it was like we're much more intentional about like, hey, those light and easy foods while still getting that fuel.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What role do you feel like your nutrition played in helping you take your game to the next level?
It played a huge role because that's the biggest separator for me was my body. A lot of kids have naturally gifted bodies, and then a lot of kids like us that have worked with you just needed to grow out our bodies a little bit. And so now talking with, a lot of the guys at ASU, that's pretty much my only goal, was to try and maximize my body as best as I could. So I'd say that it's played a huge role. Our college coaches at ASU are, reaching out saying like, hey, you're looking, bigger, stronger. Like we like what you're doing. And I still have another year to kind of fill out a little bit. So I'm glad we started early, and I'm glad that I could do it all summer, because when I came back in the fall, you know, they were just super impressed, and it really does matter. I mean, if that's all they're looking for. They're looking for big differences. As long as you're continuing to work on something, try and be better. And that was my goal, was to try and work on
So what would you tell somebody like in terms of timing of, working with the nutrition? Because I know I work with a lot of juniors, seniors especially, and so it's like kind of like they're teetering on the last chance type of stuff
yeah.
versus you that did as a sophomore or like Drew as
Yeah.
a freshman.
Yeah, I would say to try and do it as early as possible. It's especially now with roster size changing and, kids transferring, it's so hard to wait last minute. It's just something you don't want to do. And that's why I was glad I committed early, and then I got on because now I just had so much more time to grow, and I'm still growing. It would have been extremely hard, to get on that my junior, senior year, where I only had a few months to, get to where I wanted to be. It probably wouldn't have worked. So, yeah.
What about, so, I mean, you're very, very busy. Like, out of
Yeah,
any of the athletes I've worked with, you're probably in the top like two or three most busiest like athletes. Like, that's one thing that some athletes are afraid of because they're like, well, I'm too busy for the nutrition, or they think it's too hard.
yeah,
What would you say to those people?
yeah. I mean, it's it definitely is because there's been times during the summer and even now where it's like with even with homework, like nutrition, gym, games, homework. There's been times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Like, I don't know if I have time to meal prep. I don't know if I have time to go work out. Um, but my motivation was, I want to play in college and beyond. I don't want to, just fizzle out. I want to try and maximize as far as I can. And, I can't get there if I'm just, not doing anything. That motivation is huge. Especially traveling around. Like, I mean, we just got back from Vegas, and so it's really hard to stay motivated with nutrition and with lifting and all that stuff. But it's really important to stay on track if you want to go far. So every time I kind of get tired or anything, I just think about if I don't do this today, then like I'm not getting better. Like I always just try to find something to get myself 1%.
It's good. I like that. Like, do you feel like it helped having learned the process so that you have more of a system, or like how has that played into compared to before?
Process like with nutrition or just yeah, it's it definitely is getting easier now because I've been doing it, for a while. We started it last towards the end of last school year. So I've had, I know what it's like to plan through the school day with nutrition, and I just did it all summer. So now it's like I know how to travel. 'Cause I was gone all summer traveling. And so now it's like when I travel this weekend to Vegas, it's like I already know what to do. I already know what to bring, what to eat, what to pack. Um, and like with school, it's slowly becoming a routine where it's like I don't even have to think about it. That's why I'm glad I started it early because now it's just a routine.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the biggest things I try to emphasize is
Yeah,
if you can make it a habit, make it a routine, then yeah, you don't necessarily think about it as much because your brain is wired to try to make things easier. So if you can not have to think about that as much, it makes things easier.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So now that you're committed to ASU, you're working towards that. What else are you chasing in that process?
Yeah. Um, so I mean I'm gonna talk about my goals. Yeah, no, my first goal is definitely I want to play ASU. I want to be, I want to be their guy. I want to have my parents come out. They're 20 minutes away, and I've also been thinking about what I want to do after, college. Obviously, I mean, I want to, go to the MLB. I want to try and maximize that as like much as possible. And it would just be my dream to, just get a few innings in the MLB. But even after that, I already kind of know, I want to come back to the game when I'm done. Whether it's with, sports medicine, even like coaching or, doing what you do, helping athletes kind of find their path and, getting on nutrition plans, weightlifting plans. I just want to do something to help younger athletes get to where they want to go, especially because I've gone through that path. I think it'll be really cool, even just helping my little brother because he's on the same path I am. So I always enjoy helping him, telling him what to do, how to coach him. He started working out with me recently, so I just like to, help people like that. So yeah,
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and that's why I already knew that, so I was like, that's why I was like, y'all got to hear
yeah,
this. And
yeah,
but what about, so you have a lot of internal motivation. So if y'all haven't learned internal versus external motivation, go back a couple episodes to Adeline. She talks a lot about that, and Carter is a perfect example of that internal motivation. He's not like, obviously he gets a lot of external rewards and accomplishments and stuff, but he's driven, you can hear it in what he talks about as that internal. So how does the motivation to serve others and to do all these things for others, how does that play into your motivation to keep the grind going?
yeah. I mean, it definitely started from when I was younger because I grew up in Hawaii, and seeing coaches come back and help the community out and it was just like a cool experience for me. Like, dang, this guy, he got drafted, and he played and he came back and he wants to work with us. Like, it was just such a cool like experience to have. And even this weekend, they had the 18U team and then they had like the 10U team from Hawaii come up, and my little brother got to play with them, and they just, they know who I am. The coach has brought me up. I've talked in front of them before, and it's just like so cool when I walk in the dugout to help coach, and I just have all these little kids coming up to me saying like, aren't you Kai's brother? Like, aren't you going to ASU? Like, it was such like a cool experience, giving back. And that was kind of like that internal motivation, was like just seeing how excited they are and remembering how excited I was when, somebody came back like that.
Well, when you do it for other people, that actually helps more. Like not doing it for other people's like honor, like
Yeah,
not for like gratification or for all
right.
the rewards, but like you're doing it to serve others.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I've even talked about, coaching. So like I've helped, the seventh grade coach who I played with, when I was in the junior high. We've gone out and we've done, small camps and stuff like that, just to kind of help kids, and it just make it fun for them. It's a game. Like, they should just enjoy it. So that it's helped, it's helped me. It even helped me too. As you teach it, when you get good at something, you can get better at it by teaching it. It makes it easier to, talk through the process. And
That is a much higher level of learning, is when you can teach it to others. So that is huge for sure. Yeah. So as we wrap, I know I've thrown a lot of like impromptu questions and whatnot at you, but I'll leave with like one final question. If you could give the athletes listening who are trying to go D1, trying to go to the next level, three pieces of advice, what would they be?
yeah, first of all, for athletes who, I know it's easier for me for baseball players, but for all athletes, honestly, I'd say to help, something to help you get, more looked at would be trying to stay online. So it's okay to post yourself and, take some pride in, what you worked hard for. And you'll get recognized for it. It's okay to kind of show off because you've earned it. It's okay to show off all your hard work. And two, I'd probably say, um, build your routines early, because whatever you start doing now is what you're going to do for the rest of, high school, even in college. It's important to build those good habits early, so you're prepared. I mean, in college, from what I've heard, it's it's a lot different than in high school. You're pretty much on your own, and it's hard when you don't have good habits. Being on time, like nutrition, staying in shape. It's really hard to build those habits when you're already in college. So I would say to really start building good habits early. And then also, of course, I'm big on being mentally tough. It's important to feel good. So I'd say, work on the mental game. That will also help, with your motivation to, stay on the nutrition plan, stay in the gym, and just always try to be better. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, those are good three. I really like those, and I really appreciate you hopping on too. Like, again, athletes listening, coaches, parents, whoever listening, it's Carter is wired differently, and this is what we try to stress on the podcast, is like showing these. I mean, these coaches talk about it, but this Carter's an example of somebody who's just wired differently, and that drive that he has and that passion that he has for his sport, but then also for serving others. And so, I really appreciate you hopping on and sharing all that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, if, I really appreciate everything you've done for me over the last, I'm slowly climbing to my goal, and my body feels amazing. I feel energetic. I feel awesome ever since we started working together. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. It's easy when you have a very driven, locked in student. Like, again, I remember our calls. I remember where you're like, again, you're like, okay, so for this thing, or like, hey, I have this time or this game at this time. Like, what
Yeah.
should I do for that? Like, you're locked in, and I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for listeners, don't stop just because you got an award or just because you got a commitment. Like, keep grinding, keep putting in that work. Like, go follow Carter. I'll have his socials in the show notes, so you can go follow him and you could reach out to him if you have questions. But yeah, until next time, keep striving for greatness.